It's another lovely morning. We're getting ready to go. One more day closer to 365 days running without taking any days off. This has been an interesting challenge. This is my third attempt to get this done. I have increased distance quite a bit. When I started this challenge, I was only running about a mile, close to a mile and a half, and then I felt like I was dying. That was really hard. And now my longest runs are 3.5 miles. So definitely some improvement in this transformational challenge. And more importantly, what I like about this challenge is that I'm finding myself, it's becoming like a habit now. I just get up in the morning, I put on my shoes, I go for a run. If I don't get to run in the morning because of scheduling conflicts, it's just kind of like I feel the need to run in the evening if I haven't done it in the morning. So I'm starting to feel that change mentally, that running is just something I do now. And that's probably the biggest benefit to doing this for 365 days and pushing yourself for 365 days without a day off. Listen, building a habit is really hard. Some people say if you do something for 18 times consistently, that builds a habit. Some people say if you do it for 30 times. Some people say if you do it for 20 times. Goggin made a comment on one of his videos where he stated that a real challenge to really make something become internal, to internalize a specific change, 365 days, 18 months, 2 years, when you challenge yourself with long periods of time, such as a year or two, then not only is it just forming a habit, but it's actually internalizing the process of whatever it is that you're doing, so that it becomes a part of your life, so that it becomes a part of who you are. So it's no different than, you tie your shoes when you put them on, or you brush your teeth every morning, or you shower every day. If that's your routine, you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth, and that's been your routine for more than a year, chances are the one day that you don't do that, you just don't. It's just what you do every single morning. So that was the whole idea behind doing this challenge, is to make this something that I just do, to improve my health, to be in better shape, to have a stronger heart, to have a healthier life. All right, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started on my run. I'll see you guys in a little while. So, we did a short run this morning. We only did 1.70 miles, to be exact. And something interesting happened over the last couple of days. I think I may have mentioned this in another video, but I was calculating my caloric burn on my runs, and then tracking how much I'm eating, how many calories I'm taking in. And one of the things that I found is that if I run 3.5 miles, I'm burning about 1,300 calories. And if I keep my caloric intake at, let's say, 2,500 calories, that means that my body is literally having to function, right? Its normal function has to stay within 1,000 calories for the day, which is really low, which means that regardless of what I'm eating, as long as my caloric intake is, at that number, and I'm burning that many calories on my run, I have to shred. There's no other way that the body can do this but to use stored energy, stored fat, and things like that. So your body starts to shred. So sometimes in the morning I don't have enough time though, to run for 45 minutes. It's not as easy getting up earlier, right? So you can give yourself enough time. And sometimes I don't get out the door until about 7, and I don't have enough time to spend 45 minutes, running. So I end up doing short runs. I do, like today, for example, I did 1.7 miles. So I'm debating whether or not to take this to the next level. I should just start doing another run session in the evenings. So running, especially right now when we're going into winter season, right? So the weather's not as bad. And maybe running 2 different sessions, one in the morning and one in the evening, would actually make it so that not only am I burning, the 1,500 calories, but also allowing myself to push a little bit of longer distance, so I could maybe do a longer distance on one run and do a short distance on the first run or whatever. I'm toying with that idea. That's just for my own, personal quest to increase distance, because, if you remember from the beginning, I mentioned that my objective is to create a transformation where running becomes an everyday thing for me. But also, kind of like a second objective is to take my run and increase distance every month, so that I will be running 12 miles, 12 to 13 miles by the time the 365 days challenge comes to an end. So if I increase 1 mile every month, in the first month I was at just about 1.5 miles, then that would mean that I would be running about 13.5 miles at the 12-month mark. And that said, since I've actually went the first attempt, I went up to day 44, which was a month. And then on my second attempt, I don't remember how many days, but let's just say I went 10 days before I screwed up and had to skip. And then on my third attempt, here we are. We're on day 14 today. So that should mean that I should be increasing distance. I should maybe increase it even a little more when I do get to my 365 days without skipping. And that's something that's just for my own personal, like, additional complexity that I wanted to add to this challenge. But ultimately, the truth is that the biggest benefit to this is that it's becoming a routine. It's becoming just something that I do. I get up in the morning, I put on my running shoes, I put on my running gear, and I just go for a run. And that, I gotta tell you, that's priceless. It's priceless, because on those days where I have skipped, it is so weird. It's one day, maybe 2 days. I think the first time that I skipped, I ended up not running for 3 days. I was kind of bummed, but in those days, I felt it was almost like something super valuable got taken from me. It felt so empty on those days that I didn't get to accomplish the run. So I think the transformation is already taking effect. There is definitely some changes. I am running a longer distance. I am feeling better. A friend of mine who hadn't seen me in a few months made a comment to me yesterday and said, "Man, you're really kind of dropping some size there." And I'm noticing my belt, right? I'm seeing some changes on my waistline. So ultimately, the benefits of doing this challenge so far have proven to be priceless. I guess that's what I'm getting at. I'm starting to see some major changes. And, it's kind of an interesting thing. A lot of times we talk ourselves out of doing things because of external influences, whether it's something that somebody told us or whether it's something that we assumed and internalized it as a belief. I had a teacher in my freshman year in high school. His name was Mr. Russell. He was absolutely super cool. But one of the things that he used to say every day in his class, it was almost like a warning disclosure that he used to do, kind of joking around at the end of class. He would be like, "All right, everyone, have a great day," because we were off to our next class. And he would say, "Remember, your mind is the smartest thing and most powerful thing you have, and it's also the absolute most stupid thing that you have. It will believe everything you tell it." When I was a freshman in high school, I just thought it was something really stupid and silly that he used to say. But over the course of my life, I realized that, when you tell yourself you can't do something, your brain just simply says, "Okay, cool, we can't do it." And when you tell yourself, "I can do it and I will do it," your brain at first your mind might say, "No, you're not. You can't do that." But if you just push past that barrier and you just kind of push that wall down and say, no, I am gonna do this. I am gonna do this, and you do it with conviction and resolution, your brain at that moment has to adapt. It has to accept the command. It has to do and adjust to do whatever it needs to do so that you can do what you're telling your brain to do. The other thing is that when I was about 31 years old, I went to one of those seminars, one of those personal development seminars, and there was this clinical study that they were discussing in that seminar where they had done studies and they had found that for every one negative thing that somebody tells you or that you tell yourself, it takes 10,000 times of the opposite to be told to you in order for you to heal the damage that was caused from the one negative thing. So the example that they were talking about is that they were talking about children. When you tell your child, oh my God, you're so stupid, the damage that you're causing, your child's brain does not distinguish that from anything else. It just takes it for word value. And as adults, and I'm using a child just because of the example that they used, but as an adult, it works the same way. If I look at you and I say, oh man, you are you're dumb as rocks, you're actually damaging that person by making that statement, because subconsciously that person can filter the command. That command goes deep into their subconscious, and then it causes doubt. It causes for them to question decisions that they make. It causes insecurities. It causes a belief inside of them that they may not even consciously know they have. It's just because of something that you said to them. And it takes 10,000 people or another person to say 10,000 times, you are the smartest person I ever met, for that damage to be fixed. Think about that. Now think about how many times you're giving yourself negative commands. The other day I talked about Dr. Emoto and how he did the study on water and how thoughts and words had crystallized the water in certain ways. And I talked about how the body is made up of 80% water. And what we think is crystallizing us internally is creating an effect internal in our bodies, in our physical bodies, right? So when you tell yourself, I'm old, I can't do that, I'm old. Your brain is not actually comprehending that this is just something you're saying. And if you say it with conviction, it's even that much more powerful. And so your brain accepts it. Yeah, we can't do that because we're old. I'm just old. And it's funny because I gotta tell you, I'm 51. And a lot of times I'll even say, oh my God, it sucks getting old. But I often catch myself and I try to immediately, whether I say it out loud or not, I try to oftentimes, when I catch myself, go, I'm not getting old, man. I'm a young bird, man. I can do what I do. I mean, I can run, I can ride my bike, I can take care of myself. Mentally, I feel like I'm 28 years old. Sometimes my body doesn't feel that way. And that's when I catch myself falling back into that, oh man, this sucks getting old idea. But it is so important and so critical that you catch yourself and that you immediately counteract, or like you immediately counterattack those negative thoughts. Because if you don't, those negative thoughts become internalized beliefs. There's a study that has been done that actually talks about how most people don't live very long after they retire, a lot of cases. And they say that part of it has to do with our mental state. When you have a job and you have something to do and you have something to go to and you have this thing that you feel that you're contributing to, or that, you know, what's going to happen if I don't show up to work kind of thing, you have a reason to live. And so you're mentally in a place where you just have to keep going. You're like, hey, I got to go to work. And, you know, when you don't have that anymore and you don't find a thing to do to drive you to get out of bed, a reason to keep going, they say that this causes for the person to mentally go into a place where they just begin to shut down. And I think Mr. Russell was correct in saying that the brain is the absolute most powerful thing that we have. Think about that. Your brain identifies that you no longer feel like you have a function, so it begins to shut down. It begins to complicate things so that your demise happens. Your brain identifies that you have a reason to get out of bed and go somewhere and do something, and therefore it does whatever it takes. It adapts to give you one more day of life, to get you to where you want to go, to give you that one morning, that one more opportunity to do the things that you need to do. It drives you, right? So if your brain is that powerful and our thoughts can influence our brain, it's important to really think about what you say to yourself before you internalize beliefs that can impact the rest of your life. It's also important to understand that if you tell yourself, I'm too old to go for a walk, I'm too old to be walking, I'm too old to do a 365-day challenge, I'm too old to be saving money, I should have done that in my 20s, it's too late now, I'm too old to try to whatever it may be, it's too late. You're internalizing beliefs that are limiting your life. I'm too old to learn a new thing, to go back to school. It's too late for me. I'm in my 40s, what the hell, right? I'm in my 50s. Why would I want to go learn more stuff? I'm 50 years old. Why would I want to go learn more stuff? Life is learning. Life starts with learning how to walk. And the rest of your life is learning. I have news for you. Every single relationship that you have and that you're gonna have, whether it's with your kids, whether it's with your new girlfriend, whether it's with your wife, whether it's with your fifth wife, whether it's with your neighbors, every single one of those relationships is a learning experience. Look, I don't regret any of my relationships in the past. I really don't. As absolutely horrible as they may have been, which in reality, I can't even say that too much about relationships. It's funny. I'm actually friends with just about every single person I ever dated, and with one exception. And the funny thing is that when I think about my relationships, yeah, things didn't work out. But they didn't work out for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, I learned things. So I learned how to be a better person for my next relationship. I learned how to manage certain things in my relationship in a better way. I learned, different techniques for being in a relationship. And I'm not saying that to say that I figured it all out. God knows I haven't. But what I'm saying is that even those relationships that don't work, are actually learning experience that help you become a better person if you take the time to reflect internally, right? When you have a friendship, you're learning from your friend. You're learning about things that are happening in their life and how they're handling certain things. And then when you face similar things, you're like, oh my God, my friend went through this. He handled it this way. And you're constantly, we are sponges. We are absorbing everything. When you're hanging out with your family, you're learning about things that they're doing. You're learning about, their way of thinking. You're learning about how they're processing information in regards to certain challenges that they might be facing. Because you know what's another thing that's really interesting? Nobody's life is the same. My brother was raised side by side with me. He has an entirely different life than mine. I guarantee I'd be willing to bet money that you guys probably feel the same way. If you think about your siblings, they probably all have different lives. Some may be better, some may be not as good as yours. None of us have the same lives. And I don't mean better financially. It could be maybe they have a better relationship than your relationship with your significant other. Or maybe they have not such a great relationship with their significant other and you have an amazing relationship with your significant other. But I guarantee you that nobody has the same life. And so therefore, when we're interacting with people, we have an opportunity to learn. Think about kids. Kids learn from behavior that they see in their parents. We are literally teaching our kids who they're going to become from the moment they first start to interact with us. From the moment they first hear our voice, they can tell. They are learning. They're distinguishing sounds. They're distinguishing words. Then they start learning how to talk. Then they start learning thoughts and ideas. Then they start learning behaviors. It reminds me of that little video. Remember when the little boy was like, Linda, Linda, Linda. And she was talking to his mom, right? Clearly he had seen that somewhere. So here's the thing. Life is learning. And if your brain is powerful enough to accomplish anything, all it needs is for you to give it the right fuel. I'll leave that thought with you. 365 days of running. I'm loving it. And if you're starting a 365-day challenge, I hope you're wanting to share that with us. I would love to hear about your challenge, and I would love to hear about your channel, and I would love for us to kind of build a community of people that are doing 365-day challenges. It doesn't have to be a physical challenge. I've said this in many videos. It just has to be something that you do for 365 days to help you be a better person. Thank you so much, guys. You guys have a great day, and take care.